So you want to own a bank? In this video, I'm going to share with you the different options for you to own a banking license, a real bank. What are the questions you got to ask? How do you run this? You've got to watch this video. Hi, I'm Taimour Zaman from Allfunds Global, previously known as LanaCred.ai. My organization decommoditizes banking products and services that have been in existence for over 50 years. I help the everyday business owner access banking products that banks primarily offer their Fortune 30 companies. One of the questions, concerns that I get a lot from customers recently is a concern about an upcoming recession, depending on your perspective, an upcoming deep depression. At the minimum, a lot of people are concerned about inflation, and they're looking at various strategies and how to help their businesses overcome economic uncertainties. A little bit about me. I'm the author of the book Hypergrowth, How to Connect to Customers New Ways. I come from a banking family. I run an amazing organization called Allfunds Global. As of today, our score on Trustpilot is 4.8 out of 5. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe now. You'll access customer strategies, customer walkthroughs, case studies, banking products and services that I would say, a lot of banks don't want you to know about, and our services that are offering their Fortune 30 clients. And it's really the intention is for you to have new pathways and new ideas and how to access capital. Full disclosure, I am not your lawyer, nor am I your banker, nor am I your financial planner or advisor. Any of the information I share with you here is not designed to be your legal advice, your financial advice, your trade advice, or anything like that. The truth is that although I say every business should learn how to become a bank first, not every business should become a bank first. For instance, if you're church, I think it'll be really weird for you to be a bank first. But if you're not a church or an institution like that, I strongly believe that if you're a bank first before whatever your business is, you'll be able to outpace your competitors, you'll be able to differentiate, you'll be able to create meaningful jobs, you'll be able to create jobs. One of the questions people ask me is, Taimour, why are you so passionate about everybody becoming a bank first? Imagine you run a coffee store and you sell coffee, and I run a coffee store and I sell coffee, and imagine my coffee store is right across yours, just really right across yours. I imagine I also buy my coffee beans from the same guy you buy your beans from, and the guy who sells our beans to each other is processing the beans the same exact way. So the differentiation between your coffee and my coffee is a minimum, if anything, none. I hire from the same marketplace as you do. Pretty much it's really not much of a differentiation between you and me. However, end of the year I made $800,000 and you made $800,000, but you agreed to become a bank first. And I didn't. I just didn't subscribe to a religion called become a bank first. If you became a bank first, you would know that you can go to places like any country that offers foreigners the ability to buy banking licenses, like Cayman Islands as an example. You get a banking license for yourself, you take your $800K, you deposit with a central bank of Cayman Islands, because remember, you're a bank. You deposit money with the central bank of Cayman Islands, and depending on the cash adequacy ratio that you've agreed on, you get a line of credit at 10 times multiples into your bank. So that means your bank has a line of credit for $8 million. You then take your $8 million and when you want to buy a house, I don't know where you are in the world, but I live in North America. And in North America, if I want to buy a house, I put 20% out. Hey, Mr. Bank, I want to buy that house, or Mr. Bank, I want to buy that land, or Mr. Bank, I want to buy whatever I want to buy. I put 20% down, and the bank loans me the other 80%. So I take the $8 million line of credit I have, I put it down as a down payment, and the business or the bank gives me a line of credit for $32 million. That is a line of credit or loan and has to be paid back. Now I want to go back to you and me. I made $800,000 and you got access to $32 million in form of a loan. I'm going to say this one more time. I made $800,000, so did you. But you turned your $800,000 into $32 million loan that needs to get paid back. Can you, with $32 million, outperform in advertising, hire better talent, invest in technology, maybe start a side business, auxiliary business? If you're in the coffee business, maybe you buy the real estate that my land is on. Maybe you buy your own real estate that your store is on, and now you pay no rent. Like, I can go to infinite number of possibilities. When you have a line of credit or a loan for $32 million and I only made $800,000. Like, could you see the differentiation? And that's why I believe business owners today, no matter what your business is, whether you're a starving artist, you're in technology, you're a doctor, you're in real estate investing, I don't care what your business is. If you learn how to become a bank first, I believe you'll hit your financial goals, whatever they are, far faster than hustling on a day-to-day business. When you want to buy a bank, primarily three different options of buying a bank. There's a digital bank, there's your brick and mortar bank that you probably walk into every single day or every single week to, and there's something called private banks. Regardless of which option you want to go to, regardless of which religion you want to subscribe to, they all have their own advantages and disadvantages. So if you think about digital banks by far are a lot cheaper compared to bricks and mortar banks. Digital banks have minimum regulations. It's cheap to buy a digital bank. It's fairly easy to enter into the market. The challenge with digital banks is, like, imagine HSBC or Barclays or any of the big banks. I can never, ever, ever see a Barclays bank send $100 million standby of credit to a digital bank. Like, I just can't see that happening ever. Digital banks is like, if I'm gonna go from city A to city B, it's like a bicycle. And I'm going on a bicycle and there's a thunderstorm that comes, maybe there's a snowstorm, I have to go through a snowstorm. It's pretty hard. If I had a car, I probably have my roof covered, I've got AC, so I've got heat coming in. If there's a water that splashes on my car, I've got myself covered. And that's something I get with retail banking or wholesale banking. Digital banks don't have a lot of these protections. I'm going to say the wrong word. This is the wrong word. It's like peer-to-peer communication. When I give money to a digital bank and I'm having the digital bank guy send the money to somebody else, I'm praying and hoping the money actually goes to somebody else. When I go to my retail bank and I want to wire money to people, they have something called SWIFT. Retail banks do. You can track the money, where it went, how long it stayed, to which account, corresponding bank like that. Digital banks, you can do a lot of these functions that regulated banks can offer. With a digital bank, every time I want to add a capability like cryptocurrencies, I have to buy software modules to add to a digital bank and bolt it in. And if I'm going to do wallets of a cryptocurrency, then I have to add that in. And it's constantly you're adding modules. It's like a pyramid that just doesn't stop. Like, you have to constantly build. Not that other types of bankings don't have further investments, but it's far like it's just like you constantly have to build. So the investments that you're doing is seems to be consistent and on a regular basis. Digital banks are cheap. They go for $1 to $5 million. You need to have a clean record. If I was going to buy a digital bank, I highly recommend buying one in Europe, just because of the standards that they have. And it's much easier to own a digital bank in Europe and then want to do business with other banks around the world versus as a comparison, to buy a digital bank in no-name village of Africa, and then you're trying to do banking with Barclays Bank. Like, it just, like, if you want to go into the digital banking road, I would start with a developed country that's really well known for its banking system compared to some other formula or version of trying to do this. Now, if you want to go into retail banking, it has its own challenges and it has its own opportunities. One of the things I love about retail banks is once you own a retail bank, every time a client deposits money, you get a chance to go to a central bank and get a line of credit 10 times multiples. Client puts up $10 million, the central bank will give you an uplift of $100 million. Fact check this for yourself and learn for yourself on the value the central bank brings in. A lot of people have trust with retail banks or wholesale banks. There are lots of regulations around that. You can't take money, and I don't want to say you can't steal money. That's not true. I've seen a lot of bankers trying to steal money, but this has a lot of regulations around it, so it's less likely for people to try to steal money from a regulated bank versus like digital banks. I think it's a lot easier. The challenges with retail banking, you have a lot of regulatory bodies that you have to subscribe to. The subscription is expensive, whether you're subscribing to FDIC or like CHMC, OSC, SEC. Like there's a lot of regulatory bodies to subscribe to, understand governing laws, regulations, understand SWIFT, how these things work, and try to incorporate it. So there's a lot of learning and development to do for sure. You must hire a chief compliance officer. The chief compliance officer, the guy that you're paying that guy's salary to, is reporting on all your activities to the regulator. You may like that or you may not like that, and that's a personal thing, I think, but that's something that has to come with it for sure. But the retail banks have a challenge. A lot of the retail banks, after COVID, learned the value of something called digital transformation. So they're all trying to go and form themselves into something like a digital bank because it's a lot cheaper for them to offer products and services through a digital bank without you walking into a retail store where they have to pay for the rent of the land where the bank is staying on. So that's some of the challenges with retail banking. Now, there's a lot of sub opportunities as well. As more and more lenders, hedge funds, what I call life insurance companies, the auxiliary market want to go into retail banking and make competition fierce. There's lots of great opportunities to build niches. You know, there's this thing called riches are in the niches. So if you want to, for instance, create a corresponding bank, now you need a different type of a management team, but you're a corresponding bank. You are helping the no-name bank of Africa connect to no-name bank of Brazil, and you get a percentage of each transaction. You get to participate in overnight lending, bond swaps. I mean, there's so many different opportunities to make money in retail banking just because of the investments you've made in regulations. It's easier to attract money to if you have the appetite and have managerial skills, like real leadership managers and managerial skills. I think owning a retail bank or wholesale bank is a great opportunity for sure. The next major category is called private banking. Private banking is really cool. This is a place where I spend a lot of my time. I run a mastermind group helping clients understand private banking in various jurisdictions. You can start a private bank, you can buy a private bank. In places like Cayman Islands, there hasn't been somebody who sold a private bank for the past 67 years. A lot of family offices typically start a private bank, and it's just the amount of possibilities that's available in a private bank is huge. When you want to buy a bank, regardless of digital, retail, or private banking, there's some questions for you to go through, some considerations for you to think about before you make a decision. The one question you want to ask yourself is, what's the credit rating of the country you're in? So if I had a bank in Iraq, as an example, compared to a bank in United States, the credit rating of my bank, of part of the credit rating of that bank, is a function of which country I'm in. Let me say this again. A part of the credit rating of my bank, the bank that I own, is a function of which country it's in. A no-name bank in Africa, a no-name bank in Iraq, the credit rating of the bank is significantly different compared to a bank in the United States. That's the first thing you want to think about, know about, concern about. The next thing you want to think about and look into is, what is the credit rating of the banking system in that region? You are, by default, whether you like it or not, inheriting the credit rating of the regional banks in your region. So that's the next thing for you to think about. Third one is, what's the currency risk? What is the currency risk? So credit rating of the country, credit rating of the banks in that region, and then what's the currency risk? Because the currency risk makes a massive difference to your income, to your operations. Once you figure out the currency risk, then it's like, okay, How long does it take Taimour to own a bank, buy a bank? If you want to buy a bank, existing bank, as long as you've got the money, I think you can be set up in maybe between 1 month to 1 year, depending on how much the regulator wants to investigate you, your background, your experience, and how much of that are they easy on to go. So I would say anywhere between a few months to a year would be if you have all the money to buy a bank. That's what it will take you to do. If you want to start a bank, I would say you're starting in between 1 to 2 years for sure, just to go through a whole process of the application process. And either one has advantages and disadvantages. If you're buying a bank, you're grandfathering the bank's regulations, rules, the programs they've subscribed to, the bylaws they've subscribed to. If you're starting a bank, you're starting from scratch and you don't have all the rules that existing bank has subscribed to. So you get to create some new rules, which is really cool. But you lose the time as an advantage to do that. Next thing you want to think about is, or understand is, what's the difference between what's called non-sticky money and sticky money. So retail banking, people deposit money in retail banking, but guess what? Next day they want to take money out. So it's non-sticky money. People deposit money, like maybe they deposit their paycheck or a bonus check or something like that, but next day they need to spend a portion of all that money. Sticky money would be something like insurance. Somebody deposits $50 every month for 10 years. They're not expecting to take the money out. And because they're not expecting to take the money out, it becomes something called sticky money. If the reason you want to own a bank, or if one of the reasons why you want to own a bank to go into areas like private placement programs or managed buy sell programs, sticky money could be really helpful compared to alternative of a non-sticky money. But then there are things that you need to understand beyond sticky money and non-sticky money. You need to understand fractional reserve and how fractional reserve works. There's 5 different jurisdictions of law around banking. If you include the Muslim countries, then it could be 6. So the jurisdiction that you want to set up a bank and the laws around it is really important, and understand the role of central government. You need to understand the role of capital adequacy ratios of the central government in that area that you want to invest money in. How easy is the central government? How easy or hard is it for the central government to give you a line of credit? How often do you pay back the central government money that you borrow from them? Really deeply understand capital adequacy ratios and how much liquid capital you need to have, what things you can or cannot do with it. You run a mastermind group. It's a 1-year mastermind group. I think it's a ton of fun to participate in a mastermind group, and I train business owners on one thing: how to become a bank before you're a real estate investor, before you're a doctor, before you're technology, see all of that. I think that's like super important to understand that. In our mastermind group, no matter what type of financial institution you want to buy, you're more likely going to inherit something called gaps. This is where I am. This is where I want to be. These are capabilities I got with my digital bank or my retail bank or my private bank. These are the business functions I want to do. So you need to fill up those gaps with things like SWIFT system. As of last week, to get a SWIFT license was like $30,000 US. So what are things you have? What are the gaps you have? What are things you need to bolt in to add so that you can hit your objectives that you're looking to get? Understand regulations, really important, but as part of that, when you want to buy a bank or own a bank, you really have to understand the role of a clearinghouse. A clearinghouse is like I'm going to use the wrong words here, and I apologize. It's like a settlement house. Or you want to buy and monetize a banking instrument, the clearinghouse cannot lose money. So when you buy a bank, as part of your fees or as part of the money you're saving, you want to open up something called margin account. And you put money in your margin account so that when you are buying, selling banking assets or banking lines of credit or instruments or debts or whatever it is you're swapping, your clearinghouse always needs to make sure that they're whole so that they can clear the transaction with you. If somebody said, Taimour, what's the biggest difference between a digital bank and a retail bank? I would definitely say at the end of it is how they do their cash settlements at the end of the day. And so understanding the role of a clearinghouse and margin accounts and how to leverage it to access credit facilities for yourself is super important. The next thing you want to know is how bond swaps work. A lot of people have an illusion, a lot of entrepreneurs have an illusion that banks make money out of taking money from other people, lending it to you. And that's truly how retail banking mostly works. But that's not where banks really make money. Banks make money in the credit market, in wholesale banking, and they do things like overnight lending. They do things like bond swaps. They do things like wholesale banking services. They do manage buy sell programs. They do private placement programs, especially on the top 20 banks in the world. And these are the things that make someone bank a lot of cash. And so if you want to own a banking license, you want to pick and choose the banking programs and services that A, you understand, B, you can implement, and C, you can make a lot of money from. Now, if you want to go to retail banking, that's awesome. I highly recommend looking at running niches. Like, can you offer corresponding banking services and make money from that? Can you offer banking, custodian banking services and make money from that? Can you offer wholesale banking and make money from that? So once you understand why you want to buy a bank or own a banking license, you understand the difference between digital, retail, private. Then it's the geography, the country, the currency risk, the inherited risk of the banking system around that area. Then you need to think about the most basic fundamental things, like, do you have the people that will know how to run the bank? It's really important to understand that piece of it. Do you have a back-end system? How are you going to keep customer information, your customers' information private? We live in a world that people get hacked every single day. Really, people get hacked every single day. And hacking in the financial services industry is like a multi-billion-dollar industry. You don't want to enter it with being immature in it. You don't want to enter it with having $0 in your pocket to invest in back-end systems, in customer information, protecting customer information. When it comes to the actual bank itself, you want to be crystal clear what the products and services you want to sell. How will that differentiate? What's your business plan? You have the right people in place to help you deliver the banking products and services. How does regulators, rules and regulations impact you? These are some of the things that you have to understand and know. Capital adequacy ratios. How much money do you need to have at the central bank? How much money do you have to have deposit? How much loans are you going to provide? What are the percentages or the interest rate that you're going to be charging people for the loan? What's the back-end interest rate that you're going to pay the central bank for that loan? There's a lot to cover, and these are some of the main things that I cover in a one-year mastermind group. The last thing that happens in my world is people ask me, so Taimour, if you have a mastermind group that you teach me for a year how to own a banking license, what are the fees? What's the cost? Or what does it take to do that? And here's what I'm going to say. Our tuition fee is $300,000 a year. That's just our tuition. On top of that, you need to have a minimum of $1.4 million just for working capital for you to invest that $1.4 million into whatever options you're picking. We don't have any back-end private deals with brokers or people that want to sell banks like that. Truly, we are representing, coaching the client itself. We don't have back-end hidden deals with anybody like that. You need to have money on top of your working capital and our tuition fee for legal fees, for securities licenses. There's a lot of fees that you have to have ready to go. You need to invest a year of your time, and there's a couple of things I want to tell you. If you have no character and no integrity, owning a bank or participant in mastermind group of you owning a bank is probably not the thing for you. If you have no character, no integrity, owning a banking license is probably not something that I would invest if I were you, if I have no character and no integrity. A tree that's root is weak, when the wind blows, the tree falls down. A tree where the underground root is weak, when the wind blows, the tree will fall down. Part of our 1 year mastermind group with our clients is we train them on integrity. They have to really get deep sense of integrity. And the one thing I've learned is when you're a person of integrity, money follows you, money finds you. I don't know how else to say that. When you're a person of integrity, money comes to you. You don't have to go raise money. I just don't know how else to say that. Some business owners at the end of the year or throughout the year come to a decision that, hey, listen, I don't want to own a bank, but I've learned so much about bond swaps, match buy sell programs, that these are programs that I want to invest time and money into for my business to do without me actually owning a bank. So that's another decision you could make for yourself. So a lot of fun. It's a year of a lot of learning, lots of learning, lots of figuring out and learning how to make money. And I don't mean a little bit of money. You're trying to learn how to make a lot of money, and I'm going to say this in the wrong way, how to make money out of thin air, because that's what banks are doing. They're using a world of credit and credit facilities to constantly multiply money overnight and buy a lot of cash. And so I feel that the learning from that is just massively huge. So if you want to start a bank, if you want to buy a bank, I believe my organization, All Funds Global, previously known as Credit.ai, is one of the trusted players out there, and we welcome the opportunity of speaking to you and to see if we are fit for each other. Thank you so much. Hi friends, and I want to take a minute and answer some of your frequently asked questions. The first question is, Taimour, we love a lot of the content you're producing, we're certainly learning a lot. Is there a way that we can work a little bit closer with your organization and learn a little bit more? So the answer to that is we have 4 ways where you can work a little bit closer with us. The first easier way is buy a copy of our book, Hypergrowth, How to Connect with Customers in New Ways. The second way is that if you're working on a project that requires project financing and you're looking for a consultation around that, strategies from a proven provider, you can book a consultation call. The third one is if you want to join one of our mastermind groups, our brokers go through a mastermind group with our directors of partnerships, or I run a mastermind group on how to become a bank first. And finally, one of my favorite programs is offering trusted advisory services. Primarily, these are for businesses that don't have a CFO, or their CFO doesn't have real international banking relationships. They're looking for experts like us to be parachuted for about 6 months, 4 months to look at their assets, look at their strategy, bring in some bank relationships, some product services that could exponentially increase the profitability and the growth of the company. And you can access all of that through the trusted advisory services. If you're interested in things like that, feel free to book a consultation call with me, and I'm happy to help you. Taimour, you're passionate about a mastermind group on why to become a bank first. Why is that so important? Imagine you run a coffee shop and I run a coffee shop. Imagine you buy your coffee beans and your supplies from the same vendor that I buy it from. And imagine my coffee shop is right across your coffee shop, so differentiation is like really pretty much null. If you drank the Kool-Aid called learn how to become a bank first before you become a coffee shop runner or owner, or being a real estate developer, or being a venture capitalist, whatever you do for a living, if you drank the Kool-Aid of becoming a bank first, you will not have issues and the challenges traditional businesses have. Let me give you an example. Allow me to give you an example. You made $500,000 net profit in your coffee shop business. I made $500,000 net profit in my business. You drank the Kool-Aid on how to become a bank first. You take your $500,000, you walk into places like Cayman Islands that allows foreigners like you and I to open bank licenses, not bank accounts, not corporate accounts, but you open up bank licenses. Well, in places like Cayman Islands, you and I can deposit money in our bank accounts, because necessarily in our bank accounts, if you own a bank license. What you have to do is deposit your money in the Central Bank of Cayman Islands. You have to deposit money in the Central Bank of Cayman Islands. And the central bank gives your bank a line of credit at 10 times multiples, which means your $500K now turns into $5 million. You take your $5 million, and I don't know where you live, in Europe, in Australia, wherever you live in, you go to your bank, your local bank, and you say, hey, I want to grow my coffee business. I need capital for growing it, or I want to buy an auxiliary business, or I want to invest in a new business, or I want to invest in real estate. Here's my business plan. And you know when you want to buy real estate, you put 20% down and the bank gives you a loan for 80%. So guess what you do with your 5 million? You put it down your 5 million as your deposit, and you get your bank to give you a loan for 80% of 80% of the project you're looking for with a $5 million deposit. What that means is that now you get a line of credit for $20 million. So I made $500,000, you made $500,000, and you turned into $20 million. Can you outperform me in advertising? Can you maybe go to the supplier and say, hey, I want to buy bulk coffee beans or whatever the deal is. Give me a discount that you can't give to Taimour because I'm going to be buying it in bulk. And then outwin me on pricing. Can you even at $20 million, even the side business, like invest in real estate or something like that? When you become a bank first, you can, when things like coronavirus happens, the unfortunate event of coronavirus happens, and a lot of these businesses just die, you can outlast that. When the unfortunate Russian invasion of Ukraine happens and inflation goes up, and like all these turmoils that happen, you can outlast that all day long because you drank a Kool-Aid called learn how to become a bank first. And that's why I'm very passionate about teaching this. You're not working with amateurs, you're working with experienced professionals who know what they're doing. Next question, I guess, Taimour, you charge a fee for consultation. That's correct, we do. Why do you guys charge a fee for consultation? There's two answers for that. The first answer is that I provide about 40% of my content completely for free on YouTube. That some of the videos attracts millions of viewers, and that leads to about 600 calls a day to us. And a lot of them are junk transactions. It's joker brokers who are shopping around. Is somebody who doesn't have a real transaction. They're tire kickers that are. By charging a consultation fee, we cut all of that out and we talk to people who are serious about doing business with us. The caliber of people we meet are significantly more when we charge a fee compared to when we don't charge a fee. Second reason why I charge a consultation fee is that a lot of times our clients are looking for, hey, if I participate in this program or whatever it is that I'm doing, what are the returns I can get? Well, if you were going to be a joker broker and start providing returns, that's called solicitation. However, if we're charging a fee, the client is legally hiring us, retaining us, and so when you're hiring us as consultants, retain us as consultants for a very small nominal fee, now we are not soliciting anything. Now comes the best part of the whole thing. We actually refund 100% of the fee to the client at the time of a transaction completing. So we refund 100% of the money when a transaction completes. So this way I wouldn't say there's no cost for the call, but I just want to make sure I'm talking to a qualified individual that's ready, willing, and able to do a transaction versus tire kickers. Who's your ideal client and who's not? Our ideal clients are businesses that have cash, that have to have some kind of liquid cash and or assets like letters of credit, real estate like that, and they're leveraged. They're looking for a large amount of capital that banks are offering primarily to their Fortune 30, Fortune 50 clients like that. You're leveraging us because of a volume of transactions we do with banks, our experience, our expertise, our ability to execute, and this new amount of capital allows our clients to get funding that allows them to buy a business, buy a new business, buy existing business, expand your business, get the project funding you need for project expansion like that, and that's the market we are interested in serving, businesses that have some kind of liquid capital and or assets, and they're ready to start a transaction. Why is there no defamation or lawsuits against your organization? So knock on wood, as a date of this video, there's no defamation or lawsuits against my organization. Awesome, yeah. There's two answers why there isn't any. The corporate answer is because we operate with a high level of integrity. Everything we do is to law firms, on paper, like things like that. That's the corporate answer. The truthful answer is my vision as a CEO hasn't been bold enough, big enough for me to knock some trees down for this to happen. Here's the facts. Here's some facts. If you look at the big brand names in your household, whichever car you drive, a Honda, a Toyota, a Mercedes, or whatever medicines you have, Tylenol, whoever your fridge manufacturer is, whether you use Google, Facebook, look at the big brands of things you consume in your household. Look at the income statement of these big brands. You will notice every one of them, whether it's the car you drive, the medicine you're consuming, the internet, Google, Facebook, or look at their income statements, and you'll notice that litigation is part of their income statement. Litigation is part of their income statement. Fact is that a lot of organizations at some point in your growth, in your maturity of your business, litigation unfortunately is part of it. When it comes to us, we're ready, willing, and able. But the fact that we don't have it, my truthful answer, not my corporate answer, is because my vision as the CEO hasn't been built big enough for me to try to disrupt the world kind of thing. My last question is, we are interested in learning about participating in small cap or alternative to small cap private placement programs. Why would people choose your organization versus alternative options? I would think because we use attorneys, securities attorneys, international attorneys. I think that's probably a big one. Because I'm in a private placement program, have been in a private placement program, I've done buy and sells myself successfully. So I would say the why choose us, experience, expertise, ability to execute. We're not providing providers that have a Gmail, Hotmail, email address like that. We're working with some of the best attorneys out there in having the attorney manage the client's funds, or having the attorney actually run a private placement program, or the attorney represent the clients with platforms we vetted, like things like that. My name is Taimour Zaman. Before I let you go, I just want to say on behalf of my associates, my team, myself, I'm really, really, really grateful for the time you invest in watching our YouTube videos, and I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Your time and attention are yours to keep, and the fact that you watch our YouTube videos and give us some of your time, I just want to say I'm truly grateful for that. Thank you so much. I look forward to the opportunity of meeting you, and hopefully for the opportunity of also helping you out on a project. Thank you.